We are going to be talking about a really high profile fixture that we are about to enter tomorrow. We are going to be facing Netherlands, a team that's being managed by one of the most renowned coaches all around the world. And for Canada as a nation to be playing against Netherlands, the French, in such a high stakes fixture, even though it's just a friendly, this is really going to set the tone for what is bound to happen in Copa America and in the other fixtures that we are going to be facing. Um, it's really essential for us to see what Jesse Marsch is going to be bringing to this squad. We all know Jesse Marsch has managed Leeds. He's been pretty good with the tactical setup in terms of trying to build the tempo, trying to increase the intensity in any squad that he nurtures. If you've seen Jesse Marsch, whenever he goes to any competition or any side of the world, he has always carried the same philosophy of playing quick football. He wants the opposition to be deceived in a way that the passes are quick, the tempo is high, and everything is at stake here. Defensively, which is why Jesse Marsh's squads have always been susceptible to conceding many goals. And here's something which is really interesting, right? So, this is the first narrative that we are really going to be talking about. Alfonso Davies, he's been given the onus of leading the team. I think Alfonso Davies is the man who should be wearing the captain's armband. Um, Previously, we've had Hutchinson, who is retired. He led the line in the World Cup. But Jesse Marsch has entrusted Davies to mold the squad to make them play in the way that he wants them to play. I think we don't really have any worldly figures in the Canadian soccer team right now. And for him to rely on Alfonso Davies is not much of an ask. But as we can see here, yeah, I'll start with on the pitch. He came with the different idea of how we should play. If a different coach comes in and he has different ideas, that's a challenge in itself. But then he just challenged me to see how many sprints I could do in a game and simplifying my game when I tuck in. But off the pitch, yeah, he challenged me. He asked me questions, some difficult questions that I don't think of every day. It was a challenge with those questions. It put me in a position where I'm not really comfortable, but I know that's a part of life. You just have to go and rise to the occasion, and I'm definitely willing to do that and learn from him, and not just him, but from the boys and the team as well. I've been following English football since the last 2 decades, and whatever I know of Jesse Marsh is, he's a phenomenal coach. He really nurtures a family, whichever team or club or national squad that he manages, and he has that knack of bringing the players together. So, what I can understand from this statement is that Alfonso Davies was probably asked questions pertaining his personal life, his lifestyle. Obviously, he hasn't really had the best season with Bayern Munich. In fact, he wasn't even the most preferred wing back in that squad for Munich. But still, if we actually come down to the fact that the talent that Davies has is phenomenal, and Jesse Marsh as a manager has never really focused on talent. He has focused on the mentality, on your mental fitness. And that's something which is really sitting well with the squad. And I think which is why the national team, the members have decided to bring this guy down to manage them, right? And the performance that we gave in the World Cup was something which was not really beautiful to watch, but at the same time, it was a statement that we put out there, right? Even though we lost all the games and we barely scored any goals, but Jesse Marsh is a manager who has an incredible profile, brings in a lot of credibility, and I think when you have a plan in action, he's someone who would want to execute that, which is why he's taken the responsibility of running the national squad for Canada. Um, right. So there's a follow up via Joshua Cloquet. The first time we met each other, he asked me 2 or 3 times, "What does it mean to be a Canadian?" The first time I told him my answer, but then he really asked me to sit down and think about it. And yeah, he asked questions like that, and then asked if he were to put me in a situation to wear the armband, how would I carry myself? those aren't questions that I get every day. I'll bring my experience on the pitch and be more vocal, especially off the pitch. He told me about doing the team speeches, and I'm not usually not the one that does the team speeches. I just say, let's go, boys. But he challenged me in the way that gets me out of my comfort zone for sure. Alfonso Davies has been put in a precarious position, obviously, because he's someone who's streaming online, loves being really casual, and he doesn't really see himself as a team leader. Obviously, he's going to be one of those leaders amongst others who can obviously support the younger people on the squad. But we are forgetting one thing: Alfonso himself is just 23, right? And probably the idea of maybe captaining a team is something which doesn't really sit right with him. But I'm sure he's going to take pride in that responsibility as well, right? And these are just the international fixtures, the friendlies that we are talking about right now. Um, and when it comes to feeling patriotic for your nation, right? I think he asked him the right question. I think Jesse Marsch rightly wanted to see how patriotic, how much does he really want to give for his own country. We've seen what he can do at the club level, but at the national level, we still expect him to perform at those levels. We want him to punch above his weight. We want him to be on a mark that brings everyone else, the entire unit, on the same tangent because we know the unit as a whole is not as good as what other national teams are like. We are 49th on the world map, right? We are facing a team that's currently ninth in the FIFA World Cup rankings. And for us to face a team like Netherlands is going to be a difficult task. But at the same time, when you have a coach like Jesse Marsch, who has made this commitment that the talent is there, it's visible on the pitch, but at the same time, the mentality and the physical fitness and the mental health needs to be addressed as well. And that's something which he's always emphasized on. Jonathan David is a player who's always played as the second fiddle or the second striker for Lille, right? But we see him getting into those attacking positions, and he's had a phenomenal season. He scored 19 goals and I think 6 or 7 assists in 34 fixtures, which is a tremendous number. He's valuated at 50 million quid. And right now, for Jonathan David to be starting as a number nine is something which sits right in this Jesse Marsh model. I don't really want a Kyle Larin or the young boy that they've brought in from Sheffield Wednesday. I know he's got a lot of pace. I know he's determined to be bringing in those numbers, but I don't think he's quality enough for a Jesse Marsh model. In fact, Canada needs to be nurturing the right talent. We need to be bringing up more footballers from the academy. That's something which we need to focus on. Again, Theon Bushanen and Alfonso Davies, the homeboy, Ismail Kone, these three, phenomenal. They try their best, they're determined, they try doing what they want to do. Leon is someone who is playing for Inter Milan right now, but he's not the preferred person in that position either. We Davies again, the star man of the team. Estuqua is again a midfielder, defensive midfielder who plays for Porto, and he's been really good in that defensive role for them. Can dictate the play, is really good with long ball situations. Not as good as we expect him to be technically, but he's better than the other midfielders present in the squad. And then Mathieu Grenier, I think he's that guy who can actually have that box to box presence. This guy can actually help us in maintaining that balance in the squad that we need. And then Kyle Hibbert, Derek Cornelius, Moise Bombito, Alistair Johnston. Again, Johnston really mentioned it in the presser that he was really happy that just Jesse Marsh is here in the squad, and we expect him to just mold us in a way that we perform and we are ready for the Copa America. This is the map to the road. This is the map to the Copa America, and we expect to be performing to that level. These statements coming in from the Canadian players just shows how confident they really are and how confident Jesse Marsh wants them to be, because without any confidence or motivation, you cannot really step on the pitch and expect to win. The eagerness and the excitement to do what we can to show our country and represent our country means everything Everyone is on high attention span and alert to try and come together to learn, adapt, and grow. I think he's just trying to stimulate the squad. That's really necessary. Right now, the first step for a coach when he steps into the national squad is for him to ensure that we are in sync. We are trying to get that level of mentality which gets us nicking in those passes, right? That tempo, those build ups. I think we need to be more consistent with that, right? Our national team has not been consistently doing that, which is why we concede goals. The games are super erratic, they become cagey, and it's always been an even Steven situation when it comes to us facing even teams like USA or Mexico, which aren't really the best teams in the world, right? We need a lot of vigor, desire, and motivation to be stepping on this podium and facing teams like Netherlands and France, which is going to be quite a task. Again, from one of his statements from the press conference, there's a lot of things that I've tried to address and to make the players aware of. I've also tried to really focus on ourselves, what we want to try and to achieve, how we want to lay a foundation. Not expecting any result right now would be the right approach, but expecting to play good football, to play brave football, to get ourselves out on the pitch and to support the Canadian national team is something which is expected from all of us, and we should be doing that. The road to Copa America is going to be vicious. We are going to be facing a lot of challenges. We need to overcome these challenges. We need to play beautiful football out there. And just don't worry about the results because if the performances are good, regardless of what we think, the results are going to be better.